A very good morning to you and welcome back to K24 this morning. My name is Mungana Mbuvi, and this being a Thursday, we like talking about relationships. And sometimes not everything goes as it should be, and that is why today we are focusing on division of property after divorce. You know, that matrimonial property that you co-own or own with your wife. And our question for today, before I introduce my guest, is what reasons do you think are the most important to factor when dividing property during a divorce? What reasons do you think are the most important to factor when dividing property during a divorce? Is it who bought it, how much it cost, who spotted it first? Because, you know, sometimes you might have bought a house, but your wife saw it, or your husband saw it before. So is that something that you should consider? Like, I have, you know, dibs on that. Today I'm having Eliud Ngugi, who is an advocate of the High Court. Welcome to the show. Uko salama kabisa?
Niko salama.
Umepatiwa kahawa huko nje? Kuna sausage nilisema upewa. Umepatiwa pia?
Nimepewa sausage pia.
Umepatiwa pia ngwashe?
Nimepewa ngwashe na ndugu.
Like clean inakanika uje ikula. But you're good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
So before we get into the conversation, what's the difference between a lawyer, an advocate, a counsel? What's the difference? Is there any?
Yes, there's a huge difference. A lawyer is someone who has gone through the university and studied the discipline of law.
Okay.
While an advocate is a lawyer who has gone through university but has done a special course, what we call a postgraduate diploma.
All right.
And has been admitted to the bar by the Chief Justice of Kenya. And so they have taken oath to actually defend the law.
The law. So our watoto wote tunaonanga huku tao wamefanya, you know, UON, KU and other universities, those are just, you know, after they have graduated from their respective campuses, those are just lawyers.
Those are just lawyers.
So can I hire them to work for me in a court of law?
No, you cannot hire a lawyer to work for you or to represent you in court because they're not recognized, and it is criminal for them to actually appear in court.
So what can they do then?
What they can do is help with research, but you can also not rely on their advice.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey.
But they can guide you. They can actually guide you on certain issues.
So when you say postgraduate diploma, we're talking about the guys who go to Kenya School of Law.
Yes.
So once they do, and how long does the course take?
The course takes 1 year. Then you are required to take to undertake pupillage, which is being under an advocate of 5 years.
Okay.
Who actually trains you on the practical ways of the law. And then after those 6 months, there's a book you feel.
6 months, because you said 6 years.
No, 6 months. Sorry.
Okay.
So 6 months. Then after that. Then you apply, you petition the Chief Justice. And so when he's available in his diary, when he's available, he's able to actually say, okay, you guys come over to the Supreme Court of Kenya. I'll then oversee you taking the oath. Okay, so you study. How long does law take? It takes 4 years.
Okay, so 4 years.
Yes.
Then another 1 year at KSL.
At Kenya School of Law.
Yes.
Then another 6 months.
6 months, you being an intern, basically.
Yeah, you're being an intern.
So unafanya tacho kwa another
law firm.
A law firm?
Or for, in an institution. Let's say insurance institution, or in a bank, or at the AG's office. So you're actually under attachment.
Okay.
Then after that period, now there's a waiting period.
That so you petition the CJ, the Chief Justice.
Yes.
And it has to be the Chief Justice, not the deputy or one of the Supreme Court justices. It has to be the CJ.
It has to be the Chief Justice.
Then once that happens, akisema haya, sasa Eliud Ngugi, you can be now you can practice law.
Yeah, he tells you to go and look for that wig and the attire, and then show up on a specific day.
Okay.
Then you sign a roll.
A roll?
Yeah.
Okay, what is that?
ROLL.
Oh,
it's actually a four-quire book that has your name, the date of admission, and your admission number. So
your admission number at KSL or university?
To become an advocate.
Oh, there's an admission number.
Yes.
Hey.
So you fill that one. And so for any Kenyan who might be in doubt about whether one is a lawyer or an advocate, or all advocates have admission numbers, which are, if you Google the name of the person, or you go to the LSK website, you're able to find out. If you search my name, Eliud Ngugi, you will see my third name, and you will see my admission number to the bar.
Okay.
Yeah, which we call a P.
Okay.
Yes.
And last but not least, counsel.
Yes.
What is that? Because I hear people like Juicy, if I'm not wrong, Honorable Kalonzo was given the title senior counsel, I think, if I'm not wrong. We have other lawyers out here we hear, or other advocates now that I know, are called senior counsel. What's that?
So counsel, they are different. There's counsel and then there's senior counsel.
Uh-huh.
So counsel is short form for counselor. It's a UK term.
Okay.
So because your work involves counseling people and listening and giving advice, in full you're supposed to become a counselor.
Oh.
Then we have shortened it to become counsel, and therefore at the end of so we as colleagues, we call each other counsel. It's a very prestigious term to call your colleague.
It's just like when Makarawa itananga crew. So you and your crew, you call each other counsel.
So counsel.
Okay.
Then if you have been a distinguished counsel, you have actually either you have done a proper representation of a public, you have done scholarly work, you have done something distinguishable as a counsel, as a lawyer in Kenya, as an advocate in Kenya, then you petition, there's always an application, an advert to apply to become a senior counsel.
Oh.
And so those guys are given priority in court. If, for example, today I was to appear with a senior counsel, and his case was number 30 on that list in the morning, he'll be given privilege to actually address the court. And if he happens to be in court and there's any misunderstanding between the judge and the other lawyer who is representing a different party, then the judge can actually seek counsel from the senior counsel.
Yes. All right. Nice. So you're just advocate for now?
I'm just advocate counsel.
All right. So sijali ndakuombe ukwe senior counsel. But welcome to the show, and thank you for that piece of education. Now at least people know. I've saved a lot of guys here as lawyer. I'll actually now change the number to advocate.
Thank you.
Now let's talk about what has brought us here: divorce and sharing of matrimonial property. So once the process of divorce has taken place and it has been approved, you know, there's another process that happens. But let's start with the divorce part. There's a lot of what is it called? I don't know if it's myth or fallacy or misconception. Apparently, divorce in Kenya takes 3 years. Is that true or false?
No, it's not true. That's a fallacy. It's but also it depends on a case-to-case basis. So there's a whole procedure that we have in court, civil procedure that we have in court. So for us in Nairobi, we have a Milimani Commercial Court.
Okay.
And therefore, if I was to divorce my partner and we decided to actually, we went separate ways and I went to an advocate to represent me, the advocate would file a petition, and the petition would actually be required to be served upon the ex. So the ex, within 15 days, is required to respond with a response to that petition. And they can either choose to respond or ignore it.
Okay.
So if they do not respond to that petition, then the lawyer for the petitioner or the person who is actually exiting or who has initiated this case can actually go to make an application asking, or rather make a request to the registrar at Milimani Commercial Court, one of the deputy registrars, and request that they be allowed to proceed with that petition undefended, or without the response of the other party.
The person, yes.
Yes,
okay.
And they will get a hearing date. So if we had initiated that in January and we get this, we call it certification of the case to proceed, then we will get a date in this February, the date of February. Then next, when we appear in court, we will have a date to hear. So it may take between even 3 months.
Okay.
But after the declaration of a divorce, there is a period of 60 days that the parties are given.
Okay.
So that if there's any protest or if the couple decides to reconcile, then the divorce will be discontinued.
Okay.
So there's a 60-day period. Then, so it should take between between, according to this calculation, assuming that the registry is not full and there are not many cases, it should take between 5-6 months, 4 to 6 months.
For the divorce to be finalized?
To be finalized. But then if you are getting a date in 2 months or 3 months, then we take that 1 year or 3 years.
Okay.
Or if the person responds to the initial petition and they decide, okay, I want to challenge. I'm also very hurt by this person.
Yes.
You know, they also walked out or they cheated on me, but then they are proving to be saints. And I want to file that response indicating all those issues I may have. Then that delays the process because now you have evidence to look for to add. You may add petitioners. No, you may add correspondents who are actually now maybe the
witnesses.
The witnesses or the people the person cheated with. They may be brought to also support the case.
Okay.
So that one may now delay it and take it, make it
longer.
Period, yeah.
But so if I want to divorce my wife today and I come to you as an advocate and then now you go to court and my partner, my wife doesn't respond, she doesn't, on a tubaru mekuja or movies, you know, saying that he wants to divorce you, then she just ignores it as a nonsense. Then now, you know, she hasn't responded within those 15 days. The court will say, okay, Mrs. Mbuvi has not contested this. So what are they listening to after that? Si dema mekata ama jiski si tuendelee tusinipatwe tu divorce yangu.
So there's a procedure. So I don't just go back within 15 days and say, the wife has refused to respond. My client Mbuvi's wife has not responded. I do not just go back and say that. There's an affidavit that the person who took the documents has to swear and say, you know, we actually... The person is aware that there's this ongoing case. Okay. So we have already given that petition to the person. So we went to them at their gate, and then we found the watchman. We walked in. The watchman allowed us and told us the person.
You write all that down?
Yeah, you write it in an affidavit.
Okay.
We have people called process servers who do the work of delivering documents. They are licensed by the High Court. Okay. And so they swear that affidavit saying how they delivered the documentation.
Tulienda kwa nyumba akakataa kufungua.
Akakataa kufungua ama akafungua akachukua. And so we have given them a chance to actually respond and to show appearance. All right. Then at that point, then now, me as your advocate, I'll have you come to court with me, and then you are going to narrate. You give that narration. The reason why you are asking the magistrate or the judge to allow the divorce.
Okay, so divorce has happened. Let's now say there was no contestation. Okay, one more question. Assuming she contests and she doesn't want to leave me, but me, I don't want to be in this marriage. So now I am forced to stay with her?
No. A number of judgments have said what we call authority has provided that we cannot force two parties to stick together. And therefore, even if she does not and she comes in and says, you know what, I love this person, I did not intend to do what I did, and all that, but you have also said, you know, I don't want to stay here. The court cannot force you to be together. Okay. Yes.
So they will eventually grant us divorce?
They will grant you the divorce.
Oh. Yes. So that akikataa, I'm bound in this marriage forever. Zile za, ai, Buddha, amekataa kuenda, sasa itabidi tu mmechill. Okay. Yes. That's good. So, but within the divorce period, I am allowed to be independent. Separation, that is. Now I can date other people if I want, or
yes,
what?
You can date other people, but you cannot get married without what we call a decree. Yes. From the court. Okay. The final decree. So you cannot go out there and go to the AGs and apply again to get married. Yes. That is actually a crime. Okay. Yes.
All right. What if I translocate to Uganda, where they do not recognize probably the Kenyan law? I don't know, I could be wrong, but correct me. So I relocate to Uganda, Tanzania, even the States, and I go there, meet like a nice, beautiful woman and marry her under American law. Will I be in breach of the laws here in Kenya?
Yes, you'll be in breach of these laws because they bind you. One of the things that our laws have done is that we are subject to the common law. So the common law is what we call the colonizers, the British. the countries colonized by the Britons,
Yeah, the Commonwealth.
yes, are under the same law, and therefore they work together. And so, if you wanted to actually move on, and you have not finalized what you started in this country,
Yeah.
then you're still bound. You cannot move away from that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I know a lot of technicalities here. What if I move to a country that isn't within the Commonwealth? Like, I don't know which country I can choose. But, you know, you get what I mean.
Tunisia or Morocco, one of those countries.
Siko sure, but tuseme huko niende huko.
You're still bound by the Kenyan laws.
Okay.
Yes.
And I can still be charged.
You can still,
here.
yeah, we can still charge
Akuja
you.
seme hiki
Okay.
kimutu kilitoka hapa Kenya, kikienda kikooa huko Tunisia. Na kikaniacha. Okay. All right. Sawa
Yes.
sawa. Moving on. So we have been granted divorce. What is the next step?
So the next step after the divorce, because the court basically deals with one issue, divorce. You cannot bring other issues of your marriage into this court. For example, the issue on property and the issue of the children.
Oh.
So you find a number of couples, once they have finalized, or they can proceed with both at the same time. So while they are in the process of divorcing,
Divorce court?
the issue of the children will be ongoing in the children's court. And so they'll be asking, okay, we had 2 children, where will they be, which parent are they going to go with? Or who is going to be paying school fees? Or who, so they'll go to the children's court to have the court determine
Yes.
or make a decision on who is in charge of
The children.
the children and what we call custody and maintenance.
All right.
So after the divorce or during the divorce, they can have custody issues resolved. But you cannot proceed on with the issue of matrimonial property before you finalize the divorce.
Okay.
So you have to finalize the divorce, then after you're done with the divorce, then you can initiate another case to actually now
Deal
see
with
who
now
takes
property.
what.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's take a look at some of your feedback as we go on with this conversation. We are talking about divorce and division of matrimonial property, child custody manenos as well. So we'd love to hear from you. Here we go. Divorce and property division should be based on how much each party contributed on the properties. Sydney, following the conversation from Siaya. Thank you very much. Sydney? Hello. To answer your question, I think the most important thing is the welfare of the children, if there are any. The welfare of the divorced spouse. Hiya. Yeah? So children and the spouse. Let's first of all talk about the part where this person, the previous person has talked about the property. It should be divided on who bought what. Is that how the court determines? Assuming now tumepatiwa divorce, hiyo imeisha, sasa tume-initiate story ya property. Now we go and I tell the judge, listen, me, I own the car, it was mine, I bought. Then she says, okay, mimi ndo nilinunua shamba, shamba ni yangu. Or how does it work?
The new constitution that we want to change under Article 45(3) talks about equality of the parties in a marriage at the beginning, during, and at the end of the marriage.
Okay,
So they
kindly
are
explain,
equal.
yeah.
They are equal when they get into this marriage.
Okay.
So any property they get at the beginning, during, and after belongs to them equally.
Equally.
Yes. But then contribution on how one contributed into these properties.
Yes.
In the definition under the Matrimonial Property Act of 2013,
Yes.
it gives five ways of contribution.
Which are?
So it could either be direct or indirect. And therefore, you could have bought that house
Yes.
or that car, but I have contributed to it. Indirectly. How have I?
By
contributed?
cheering me on like, hey, babe, endo nunue gari.
That is also yes, because it says that it provides that.
Hey.
Maybe not by cheering you on that way, but companionship. So you come home to a peaceful home. There's a meal, and you know,
Surely.
at night you're not feeling cold.
Yeah.
You have contributed.
Yes.
And there's another indirect way of contributing, which might be through you conducting the domestic work or running the family business.
Okay.
Or in other indirect ways, you have contributed into this property, this car that person bought.
Okay.
And so when it comes to the division of a property, just because your name appears on that logbook,
Yes.
it will not be that you own the car fully, 100%. There are other factors that this other person may have contributed to it indirectly.
Okay.
And so we are going to say, Sasa, the court may determine, okay, maybe the wife, you have a husband, the
Yes.
wife was jobless, but she was at home, taking care of the children, feeding the children.
Enda alikuwa anaosha hiyo gari.
Anapiga pasi nguo yako ili uende kazi. And so in that period of time, they will say that contribution, they will give a percentage,
Yes.
amounts to 40%. And then
Really?
you have to sell that car worth 1 million shillings and give 40%.
So I sell the car for 1 million shillings, she gets 400,000, I keep 600.
Yes.
Huh?
So there could be that direct and indirect. But what also the viewer is saying
Yes.
is that it should be 50-50, as clear as it is that you have the car is in your name,
Yes.
the house is in her name. It should be direct. There's the other direct contribution, which can be through, I may have sent you 50,000 shillings.
Yes.
When you are paying that loan.
Okay.
For that car, one worth 1 million shillings. So
Right.
this month, Nini, life is hard, and so you've said, babe, Niaje, give me 20,000 shillings. I need to pay up this loan. That is a direct contribution.
Yes.
So the partner may come in to court and say, you know, here are the receipts.
Yeah, there's a
Here are
time
the
I
bank
paid.
statements. There is a time I paid for this car that is actually in his name. So there's that direct contribution.
Well.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Let's take a short break. When we return, of course, we're looking at some of the factors that should be considered during property division, and also that child custody situation that a lot of people are currently going through that sometimes can be very, very messy. So don't go too far. We'll be right back. And welcome back, K24 TV. It is talking about divorce and division of property, child custody manenos, and sometimes it can get really tricky. And this is what we're asking you as far as our conversation is concerned. What reasons do you think are the most important to factor when dividing property during a divorce? What reasons do you think are the most important to factor when dividing property during a divorce? All right, let's see what you're saying on our WhatsApp line. Hi, what happens when one of the parties, especially the husband, sells the property before a court decree? All right, good question. Hi, Mbuvi. I heard that the law states that anything acquired before marriage is personal. It cannot be divided. How true is this? Good question. Thank you. Division of property depends on how the married couples agree to divide them before divorcing. However, during division of property, crisis and jealousy might emerge, but divorce and relationship can be fraught with sadness, anger, confusion, and stress. Makori Justin from Ogembo in Kisii County. Thank you. Hi, Mbuvi. My question is, what if I inherited my property from my parents before I married? So when I divorce, my lady will share my property with me by half? Good question. All right. Let's start with that one.
Start with that one.
I inherited this country, you know. Okay, I inherited property. Maybe I inherited 100 acres. from my dad or from my grandfather. You know, inheritance can come from either direction. And now that I am married to this lady, and let's call her Diana. So do I have to give Diana half of that property when we're divorcing?
Let me take you back to what I had said about the provision of the Constitution under Article 45(3), that parties to a marriage have equal rights before, during, and after.
Okay.
Oh, not before. At the marriage, during, and after.
After, okay.
But any property that you come into the marriage with, that's your property. The court cannot intervene to
Haitaingilia.
Unaweza ongea Kiswahili sawa pia. And so, but the court may come in, that 100 acres that you bought before you got married to Diana.
I inherited, not bought.
Sorry, you inherited before getting married to Diana.
Yes.
Diana may have come into the marriage and found you with that 100 acres. And she may have gotten some assistance and said, you know, Mbuvi, hii shamba tupande mahindi. Let's plant some maize or let's do some farming.
Pig farming.
Pig farming on these 100 acres or plant some trees. And so they may have improved this property, these 100 acres.
Yes.
They will have a claim on it.
You're kidding?
They have a claim.
Just because alisema tuweke nguruwe hapa?
Yes, because they came and added some value.
Na kama nguruwe I bought with my money? She might have given me the idea and I was like, good idea. I bought the nguruwe with my money.
She gave you the idea.
Hapa ninaona shida. All right. Yes. So she might have a claim.
Yes. So if they have added value on this property, improved on this property, they may have a claim on it. But if nothing has happened to these 100 acres, it came, you've never discussed it, you guys have decided to, you used to live in Nakuru and you moved on and came to Machakos and you've decided to focus on the Machakos properties.
Yes.
And you've never done or discussed the Nakuru property, then that would be not be regarded as matrimonial property.
Okay.
At that point.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. When it comes now to, because someone did mention things to do with jealousy and all that, is it possible that we can agree even before we get to court and not necessarily have the court interfere in our decision? For example, you know, we just decided to divorce because, you know, mutual agreement. Things were not working. I probably cheated. She also cheated, and she was like, clearly, this thing is not working. And we agree, you take the Mercedes, me I take the BMW, keep the shamba in Ruiru, I keep the shamba in Machakos, and we are done. Is it possible for us to agree like that and the court won't interfere in any way whatsoever?
Yes, it is very possible. Article 159 that we keep mentioning, if you come to court, you hear a lot of it, talks about alternative dispute resolution, ADR. And one of the ways that ADR is also interpreted is on the issue on property, that you can actually enter into, we call it a settlement agreement, whereby the two of you have decided we are not working out, we have property, let's share it in these shares.
Yeah.
You can have a BMW, I can have a Mercedes. So it has a provision. Then you take that document, we call it the deed of settlement.
Yeah.
You take it and register it in court and tell the court, you know what?
This is what we agreed.
Your Honor, my Lord, we have agreed on these issues on property. Would like you to make this a court order.
Yes.
So you present it, they go through it, and they say, you know, there's an agreement we have entered into, and I'm declaring it to become a court order.
Yes.
And it becomes a court order.
Okay.
So that there's a provision for that. You do not have to go and fight over property. It's actually encouraged that you try and settle out, because we also want to save court's time. We want to deal with other serious issues that are not able to be dealt with by parties.
And a situation whereby a partner walks away and says, it's okay, Mia, hizo magari bana weka nazo, hiyo nyumba kaa nayo, mi hata sina story mingi, we jibambe.
So if they walk away and it was matrimonial property, it's encouraged to make things clear.
Yes.
So that's where, again, you'll be encouraged to actually just enter into this agreement. Just try and plead with them. Yes, they may have left you with that car.
Yeah.
What happens within 10 years? 10 years when they, maybe their life doesn't turn out to be what they expected.
Or they just change their mind.
Or they change their mind. So it's encouraged that you try and resolve these issues, just settle on these issues, even if you have it in writing.
Yeah.
So that when they come back, they change their minds, you're able to say, you know, you had agreed.
Yeah, you said
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
Okay, good stuff. Now, let's talk about the children, because this is where things become very, very tricky. You said there's a children's court. Does this happen, can it happen simultaneously during the divorce court? Or do we, again, just like the property court, we have to wait until the divorce is finalized for us now to talk about custody?
It can happen simultaneously. It can happen before you actually even file for divorce. But there are issues to do with the children. The court calls it the best interest of the children.
Okay.
Should actually be taken care of. And so the children have a right under Article 53 of the Constitution to have both parents take care of them.
Okay.
And so it can happen before or simultaneously, whereby you actually initiate the process and say, let's agree on these issues on how to raise our children. Yes.
So now, what determines who is going to keep the kids, or what determines how the sharing of time together will be done? Because a lot of parents usually agree that the guy or the man will have the children sometimes on the weekends. There are situations I have seen where they literally divide during the holidays. If the holiday is 4 weeks, you keep the kids, the father keeps the kids for 2 weeks, the mother does the same for 2 weeks, and so on and so forth. So what determines the custody separation access manenos?
There's the age of a child and the gender of a child. There's also the standard you had set before the separation.
Okay.
So those are some of the factors that determine who takes how much time and who gets the custody of the children.
Okay.
But remember, both parties have equal rights when it comes to the children. And so we'll consider the fact that if Diana again and yourself have decided to go separate ways, and Diana and yourself were the children, in this case we call them minors, were of the age of, let's say, 5 and 10, and they were girls, and both of you have a job and you're working, you have a job, let's say you're here at work,
yes,
and Diana is at home. It is taken that because of at that point how you separated, at that point of separation, you guys had this kind of a standard. Diana will spend most of the time at home with these children, and so they were used to a certain kind of standard and kind of interaction with the parents.
Okay.
So they were used to spending more time with the mom.
Yeah.
And you are always at work here. You work for 20 hours. So when it comes to determining, for that particular case, the court will determine most likely because of the gender, they are girls, and because of their age, that the mother gets the full custody.
Okay.
But you also have access. So even though you have you are working for 20 hours, you can always go to Diana's house and spend time with the children. Or you can take the children with you and go to a hotel out there, and spend time, play date, actually spend that time with the children. So the court can, in that circumstance, determine the whole issue of custody and maintenance, custody in that regard. But let's say another example of that, there's a terminal disease.
Yes.
You and Diana has a terminal disease. She's not capable of actually...
she has a brain tumor.
Brain tumor,
Yeah.
or she's bedridden. She's not able to take care of the children.
Yeah.
The court does not operate in a vacuum. It is able to say, you know, even though you work for 20 hours,
Yes.
you are capable of employing a domestic worker or someone to assist, or you are able to tell your sister to come
And
live with the children at your house. But then make sure that you actually, time and again or every so often, you take the children to Diana's house, so that
Spend
Diana,
time.
spend time with the mom.
All right.
The children.
Yeah. So you mentioned gender. So if the children are female, chances are they'll be given more time with their mom. What if they're boys?
Still, we call it, there's a definition under the Children's Act of tender age. And tender age is a child of under the age of 15 years.
Okay.
So tender age, whether male or female, is likely to, the mother is likely to actually gets the custody of the children.
Okay.
If a child, whether male or female. but then there are these other circumstances, like what I'm mentioning, extreme circumstances, where the court is able to say, even though it's a girl child, age 2 years, this circumstance does not allow the mom to take care of this child.
Yes.
Let's hand over the child to the father.
Okay. All right. There are instances where I've had even the dad being given custody because probably the mother is a drunkard, or she's violent, or she's a drug addict, she's a criminal. The court also, considers that.
Yes, the court will consider, those are now the factors I'm referring to, saying the mom is an adulteress or the father is adulteress. You have women coming into your house.
Not changing giving.
Changing and that, maybe even you're in a cult. So the children are there seeing you, whatever, starting fires in your house and wearing funny attires in that house. The court will consider that. The children's right of religion will be actually in harm's way.
Yes.
They actually live with the father who is in a cult.
Yes.
Or he spent out of the 24 days, 30 days in a month, the father spends 24 days fasting, not eating, not cooking, because the prophet has, or whoever has said anything.
We don't eat.
Yes.
We're only eating locusts,
yes,
like Jesus in the desert.
Yes. The court will consider those things.
All right. I understand we have some feedback as well. Let's see what are guys asking on social media. Hi, what happens when a couple separates within 1 year of marriage? This is Mary from Eldoret, all right? Hey, Movie, ask Ngugi, why do courts tend to lean or favor to women more in most cases? Okay. Hi, in a situation where there is polygamy and both the husband and wife are both deceased and the second wife may be withholding information about the marital property, what would be the option the other members of the family can undertake? Okay. Okay, there is applicable, these are applicable only to learned people who know the meaning of rights, but for those on the other hand, even if a wife bought something with his own means, she's underestimated and thrown out irrelevantly with nothing. The law should apply equal to the poor, recognized and rich. Otherwise, Kenya, pesa ni kila kitu unless you are battling rich battle and not otherwise or both disadvantaged. Okay, director, kuna the first message, I think Mary from LD. Yes, hi, what happens when a couple separates within 1 year of marriage? Let's start with that one. So what happens when a couple separates within the first year of marriage? They're still, what is it called, conditioned to the same situation?
Initially, the court will not grant divorce for a marriage that is less than 3 years of age.
Okay.
So, but there are, like in the viewer's case, there are circumstances whereby you can petition the court and it actually proceed on and grant the divorce. Yes.
Okay, give me a circumstance that would allow the court to divorce you guys within that short period.
Violence.
Okay.
You've been married to this, I think the other day I was in court and this lady was narrating how on their first night of their honeymoon, actually on their first night of marriage.
Yeah.
Even
like on the day of marriage, usiku.
Yeah, the day, usiku. The guy turned out to be so violent. And they actually tried, we went and for counseling, went to the pastors, went to
nothing was working.
Seeking psychiatrists and all that, and nothing could work out. And so these guys were now separating less than 3 years.
Okay. There's one question that has been asked there. I don't think it's about divorce, but she was talking about, or rather he, I'm assuming, talking about parents being both dead. So who gets the children in this case?
So there is what we call consanguinity. Consanguinity is an order, the preference by which custody can be granted. So there is a view, and Diana again,
deceased,
are not there. The person who gets the first option is actually probably your brother. So he gives an order. So there's a brother.
Okay.
There's
a hierarchy.
There's a hierarchy of how they give the custody to the parties. And so that whole order is what is followed when the couple is not around.
So they look at the dad's side first of all.
They look at the dad's side. They also look at the paternal and paternal. So they may say, okay, so who is around them? Because again, remember, you may have been an only child.
Yes.
So what happens in this case? So they will look at who is closer in terms of the relation,
to the children.
and actually grant that.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Can the children end up with my friends? Or with our friends?
We actually had that conversation in the office the other day. Can he end up with a friend? And
like a close family friend, someone that probably was their godfather or godmother during baptism.
yes, they can end up, but after exhausting this list. It's a list of around, it's a long list.
Yes.
So once you exhaust it, let's say you have no cousin even who can actually take up the custody of
Baka
these children.
mnaangalia cousins?
Yes, cousins ni muhimu. So if they're not there, then it becomes now the next person.
Okay. So meanwhile, where are the children then?
Meanwhile,
Let's say Diana and I unfortunately drowned at Likoni Bridge. And now the court is determining, okay, watoto watakaa wapi. So watoto wanakaa wapi at that particular moment?
you have relatives. So I believe when Likoni happens, you have an uncle or you have somebody
Yes.
who is actually able to say, hey, let me have the custody of these children before there is any legal, legally granted custody.
Okay.
So there's that relative who have taken the kids.
Yes.
And so before that, then they will actually go to court.
There's a situation where we have seen men get hurt the most. And I'm saying this because I've been in that situation where, you know, the mother of a child decides, utono mtoto bana, until, you know, me, I have my act together. And when I say me, I mean her. You know, when she decides, you know what, this marriage is done, mi nimeenda na mtoto, ukijisikia, utatufuata. So, is that, first of all, is that okay? Is that good? Is that legal? And is there a way that particular party can be punished for lack of a better word, kidnapping the children from the father or even from the mother?
It is illegal. Again, Article 53 of the Constitution on both on the children having equal rights to both parents.
Yes.
And therefore, you cannot deny the other party just because you don't. You guys have fought. You cannot deny the father the right. And you've said the men are hurting here. You cannot deny the father the right to actually raise his own children.
Okay.
And therefore, there's a solution to all this. The father, in this case, is I would advise them to actually rush to court and seek for an order to actually have access to his own children. But even before that, because let's say Diana has driven down, you live here in Nairobi, and
She
Diana
goes to Costo.
has gone to Costo, has changed her phone number, and no one knows about her, and she has deleted her accounts, Facebook and whatever.
Instagram, Twitter.
Cannot be found. You report first to the police.
Yes.
You go to court and say you want access to your children. Here have a birth certificate, and I have made a report at the police station. Here is a police report. I want the OCS at this, because you may have an idea whether they're in Kilifi.
She's in Mtwapa.
Mtwapa. You want the OCS of Kilifi or Mtwapa area to actually enforce this court order. So the court is able to actually grant that order. You give it to the police, and they actually look for.
So I make the application here in Nairobi, Milimani Law Courts, or do I now have to go to Mtwapa, the courts in Kilifi, to make that application?
You can. This is a very urgent and serious issue.
Yes.
And it is more convenient for you to actually go to Milimani Law Courts.
Okay.
So you can rush there and make that application. You get that order saying that the OCS there should enforce this order.
Watatuma yo.
So you send it to the OCS down there, and then they're able to enforce it.
All right.
Yeah.
There's so much to discuss here. There are situations whereby now the man is told you have to pay a rent for mama watoto because maybe hajiwezi. I do not know who's currently doing that, but I've heard of such instances. How does that come into play?
We are looking again the best interest of the children.
Yes.
So the children have a right to shelter, to food, to religion, to education. They have all these rights. And so if Diana is the one with the custody of these children, in our case, she has been, she's the one who has, who is living with the children.
Yes.
Then the court is able to say these children need shelter.
Yes.
And Diana lives in a 15,000 house. And so we are looking at, does the father, did the father provide initially shelter worth 15,000 shillings when they used to live together?
Yes.
And the court is able to say, oh, yeah, he did. Okay, so does Diana have a job? Diana does not have a job.
Okay.
But these children need shelter. So we are going to provide shelter because
So I'll be forced to pay for Diana's rent.
you're not paying for Diana's rent. You're paying for the children's rent.
Why don't
we are
they-
looking at the best interest of the children.
What
And
is
this is why we
car
do
fala for 2 seconds? Because there are guys who will be like, mi niko na keja. Niko na keja yangu nalipanga 40k. So, kama Diana ameshindwa kulipa rent yake ya 15k, alete watoto mimi niendelee kuishi nao. Is that something I can also, tell the court?
So, yes, it's something you're
Because
able to
why am I forced to pay for Diana?
Why?
Yes.
You're not being forced. It's not about Diana.
Okay, where am I being asked to pay? Because I'm if the kids, I have a 3-bedroom house, wakuja ishi na mimi. Yeah.
But where are the children schooling at this point?
Uh,
So let's say Diana lives in Githurai.
yes.
So the children are in a school somewhere near Githurai, TRM.
Right.
One of the schools around there.
Yes.
And you are here living, let's say, in Ngong. And the children, before you separated with Diana, living in Githurai, you had actually started paying school fees in around that area.
Yes.
And who has moved out? You have moved out. You've gone to live in Ngong.
Yes.
So what will happen in this particular case is that the court does not want to interrupt the children's learning and education.
Yes.
It is actually going to say, you know what? Let them have, for their psychological growth and peace.
Right.
Let them continue studying around that area. You send money in, you actually walked out.
Okay.
And again, remember, the court does not operate in a vacuum.
Yeah.
There are circumstances and different stories or circumstances allow a certain direction by the court.
Say then, again, we live in Kitusuru.
Yes.
High-end, Nairobi suburb. They're learning at Braeburn or Peponi or whatever. That's usually Zauko. But, where I pay 1.2 million, shillings a year for their school fees. But then, Diana decides to leave me. Okay, for a guy who lives in Githurai. Then they live in a house at Kahawa and Dani, where the rent is like 8 Gs with that guy. And she decides to take the children to a school in Githurai, Githurai Primary School. Will I still be forced now, because Diana is the one who left me, will I be forced to pay her rent in Githurai?
No.
Okay.
Because, again, remember, the standard of life you had afforded
Given
before,
the children, yes.
is what the court looks at maintaining.
Okay.
And so these children were used to Braeburn or to Peponi or any that or one high-end school, 1.2 million shillings.
Yes.
They were used to going for trips outside the country. The court is looking at the best interest of these children. They were used to this level. And now they have gone to Githurai and they are going to to the next school, county competition, mashairi and drama festival.
Alafu harufu ya muturande wanakula hapo tu kama koloni wakienda shule.
Yes, so the court is actually looking at this best interest of the children is to actually maintain that level.
Okay.
And so Diana will be told, no, the children are going to stay with Mbuvi.
With dad.
Yeah, in Kitusuru.
You go to Githurai to your lover.
Go to Githurai. And so, in this case, you do not have to send 8,000 shillings.
Yeah.
Yes.
They still stick with me, even if they're girls, like it said earlier on.
We stick with you.
Wow. So much. I feel like I have so many questions, and of course, the audience as well. I'm sorry if we haven't tackled a couple of the questions that you've asked us, but unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. I'll see if we can have a part 2 of this discussion. But thank you very much, Ngugi. How can the audience reach you in case they need to have this counsel?
This counsel. I have a website, ngugiimboro.com. You'll find my phone number, and I'm on social media. You'll find me there. And one of the things I've realized, I've seen one of the viewers saying, the rights are only meant for people with information.
With money,
and with money.
Yes.
And some of the things that we encourage as lawyers is to actually give back to the community. And so they are able to reach out, not just to me, but to also go to Kituo cha Sheria. If you cannot afford legal fees, go to Kituo cha Sheria. Go right to LSK. LSK is able to direct you to lawyers who offer pro bono
services.
But, but also you can reach us, you can reach my firm, and we're able to actually help you where we can.
All right.
Yes.
So ngugiimboro.com?
Yes.
All right. That's how they can reach you.
That's how they can reach me or search.
Social media umesemani gani? Because I'm sure say wasa wanakutafuta Instagram.
Eliud Ngugi, or they'll find me if you search for that.
All right. Thank you very much, Wakili,
yes,
for that insight. And of course, to the audience, asante sana. And like Shuko has said, tomorrow is going to be a party. We're having a reggae jam down right here on Hangout Friday. But for now, tunasema kwaheri. Do not go too far. Alan Abinadab is coming up next with the Daily Brief.